All right, welcome to another episode of Top Engineering Cultures podcast, where guys who don't know anything about podcasting talk about their businesses. And today we have Matt from Concord, who is in Austin, Texas. How are you? Please introduce yourself.
I'm doing very well. I'm Matt. I'm the CEO of Concord. We are a contract management platform for SMB and mid-market companies. We help them manage their contracts in a post-legal world of AI where people don't really need a legal team anymore to process all their contracts. And so we're helping them the platform to do so.
Yeah, I would love to hear more about that because I drop every contract into ChatGPT now and ask for gotchas. And
That's the right way to do it.
yeah.
Absolutely. That's what everyone does to it nowadays. I think, it's very interesting. If you look at the story of contract management, it's been around for what, probably 30 years. It's been contract management systems out there.
And sorry to
But
take a step back, when you say contract management systems, what's an example of that in the market?
That's a good question, right? So contract management, historically, what was it? It was just storing your signed documents because, electronic signature has been legal since the year 2000 in the US, really adopted since probably 5 or 6 years now. COVID was the moment where everyone moved to electronic signature. But so in the past, it was just storing your signed documents, but there's not a lot of value behind this, right? And so what you see is that for the past 10 years now, there's been companies like Concord that actually have been trying to build the next generation of systems to help you with your contracts. And so what does it mean? Instead of sending your contract for a Word document and having your back and forth through email, you can do that directly on our system. So like Google Docs, you can work with your colleagues and your third parties on Concord. So everything is in one document. You see the revisions from everyone. You can approve, you can reject.
And are you a
Get all your
lawyer
approvals
by
done.
trade, or how did you guys?
Absolutely not a lawyer.
Yeah.
My trade is a bit all over the place. I have a master's degree in Japanese, another one in political
Wow.
science. I went to a business school. I did international affairs. I used to work in politics in
Typical
France.
European, speaking 5 languages and traveling around, I think.
Yeah, well, education is free over there, so it's
Yeah.
it's
Well,
it's making things easier to learn things, right? But so no, my background is more honestly more in business, I would say. And so what happened is the original story of Concord is about 15 years ago. I was working for the CEO of the second biggest telecom company in France, and they just acquired one of their competitors, and the competitor was losing a lot of money. And so the CEO asked me to look how we could renegotiate 500 contracts we had with 100 vendors to save quite a lot of money.
but
And I basically realized at that time,
nobody knew where the
no, it was
contracts.
a
Yeah.
nightmare. This was, 2009 with a company that was probably already at $6 billion. And no one could find the contracts. They were in paper, in cabinets. It was ridiculous. And so I spent 6 months of my life on that terrible project. And I told myself, we should probably use software for this. And that's how we built Concord. And what's interesting is, even we moved Concord about 10 years ago when I moved to the US from France to build a company. But before that, for 5 years, we had a company, my co-founder and I, in France, which were trying to do the classic contract management approach, just a storage of signed documents.
Oh, like a cloud
we,
storage, Google Drive, but
yeah,
more sophisticated
exactly. Dropbox for your
data
signed
room
documents.
kind of thing. Yeah.
And it was fine, but it was not the rocket ship that we wanted to build because we were not fixing the real problem. And the funny thing about this is, 15 years ago when we were working on that first company, the first thing we looked into with my co-founder is how to build AI for contracts back in 2009 already. And the conclusion we had at the time is that technology isn't
It's
there.
not there. Yeah.
So we quickly dropped this. Yeah. But the very good news now is technology is here. And so what's really exciting for us at Concord right now is that, our platform has been around for 10 years. It's very robust, proven. But
And at
now
10
we're
years,
actually
you must have
rebuilding entirely.
customers. You must be actually like long enough to survive. That's
Absolutely.
all
The
great
company has been cash
hair
flow
and
positive. We have
startup world.
1,500 customers.
Wow.
Everything is going very well. But now we actually have a shot at building the company we wanted to build 15 years ago, thanks to AI. And so we're actually rebuilding entirely the platform right now to be AI first. I think what we see a lot in the market today is a lot of contract management companies, what they call CLM, contract lifecycle management companies. They tend to just add layers of AI on top of what already exists,
Yeah.
which, is fine for now.
Yeah.
But this is, I think, a mistake long term because AI is just not a layer you add on top of AI. It's something that just changes entirely the way you work in general. And so, and that's why we kind of seeing a trend right now in the market, and that's why we call it the post-legal world, right? Because most of our companies are SMBs, mid-market. So think about companies below 500, 1,000 employees, typically our
Well,
customers.
and the lawyers are so
And
expensive. We don't want to like. Why would you pay
they don't have them.
yeah? Why would you pay 1,000?
They don't have legal teams anymore.
Well,
Exactly.
and they're not. I feel
It's
like they're not
ridiculous.
very good, to be honest. But you're also putting yourself at such huge risk. You know, like
I don't know. I don't know if it's not very good or not. What I can tell you is that the cost of expertise
yes,
that you had with lawyers doesn't make any sense anymore because you can have that expertise for free on ChatGPT or other
right.
systems.
And are you guys
And it doesn't.
providing advice, or is it primarily like SaaS storage, document management,
We're pure
collaboration?
SaaS.
Okay,
We're pure SaaS.
okay,
So we don't provide advice.
yeah.
You can ask the AI to give you advice, but you see with the limitation that the AI is not a lawyer, and so you should consult someone if needed. But the reality of things is that when do you really need a lawyer? That's something that the lawyer can do that the AI can't do. Very rarely in a
When
company.
you
Most
when
of
you
the
need a wet
templates, most of your
signature
contracts are
and you
templated.
have to drop off, you got served because you're getting sued.
Yeah, pretty much that. It's litigation. It's exactly this. But the reality is, what are your contracts at the end of the day in the company? Your sales agreement, your vendor's agreement, and your HR documents. That's basically the three main categories. Everything is templatized. So you don't need to have a lawyer review absolutely everything. And that's what we help people do with Concord, right? They have a system where they can see exactly who had changed what. You can give rights to people to modify specific paragraphs and not others. You have different options. You don't need to review it with someone. And if there is a change, then in that case, you can actually send it to the right person, to a lawyer that works externally, not in-house, and you can save a lot of money. And so
Do you
we've seen that
compare
trend happen more and more.
to DocuSign, or how do you differentiate between those kind of pure document signing
Yeah.
apps?
DocuSign is mostly electronic signature,
Right,
obviously.
that's
So
it.
they really
Yeah.
do just, you have your PDF, it's already done, you send it to DocuSign,
And
you get a
is
signature, you're done.
e-signature legal in France or
Absolutely.
yes?
Yeah. It's been legal in most of the world now for years. There's still some countries that have some specificities. Concord, wait, I'm French, but we are mostly an American company.
Sure,
About
sure. Yeah, yeah.
80% of our customers are in the US, but we work also with companies in Europe, obviously. But what's interesting is, it's just electronic signature, which is nice, but the real work in the
It's
contract is
not
what happened
everything.
before and what
Yeah.
happens after. And so it's like, DocuSign built the wheels of a car. We are building the car on top of the wheel. So we have electronic signature at Concord. We can also integrate with DocuSign if people want to keep using it. But the idea is to really automate absolutely everything. Because when you think about it, what is a contract? It's not a legal document. It's a business process. Whether you buy something, you sell something, you hire someone, there's always a contract in the middle. And today, this is something that is entirely manual in most companies. 90% of companies today have zero system when it comes to contract
And
management.
you have
They
to
use a
be
little bit of electronic signature.
careful too. Like there's so many small things in these vendor contracts that I can be more of a big picture person, and so the details of contracts until AI have just been very tedious. And now you can drop it in and be like, tell me what the red flags are, and pops it out. It's incredible.
Yeah. And I think what we're going to see with AI, and we've already seen it already in the past few years, is contracts are going to be more and more standard because AI is going to tell you the same thing everywhere. So people are going to start adapting their contract to kind of be reviewed with AI. So you're going to see something that is going to be even more standardized between companies, I think, in the future. And so what it means is that the real benefit of CLM is how do you process this contract as fast as you can? It's really a question of speed in today's world when we see how fast technology is changing, when we see how fast, what we learned is basically obsolete. Like it's very interesting, right? And
I
so
was talking to my
companies are
brother
going to
about
survive.
VLOOKUPs because he's working at Deloitte, and I started my career Ernst and Young, and I was like, if only I had AI to do VLOOKUPs.
I don't build Excel models anymore. I actually
Yeah,
use, ChatGPT and other system to build directly an app to
yeah,
move this. It's
it's
fascinating, right?
incredible.
But so because of this, what it means for companies, if you want to survive in tomorrow's world or today's world, you need to move faster. And, the first thing you need to do to acquire a new system, hire someone else is getting a contract done. So why do you lose a week or 2 weeks to do a contract when you can do it in 5 minutes? That's really the question. And that's what we're doing. And so I think we're going to see more and more companies just not having a legal team anymore. I already see it a lot. I think it's going to be more and more common. And so these people need a tool that's going to help them just accelerate. And that's what we built Concord for.
It's almost like the safe IC convertible note, like standardization
Absolutely.
process. Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, this is actually a very good point. I think what we're going to see indeed is more standardization of contracts. I personally believe, but that's maybe me being European and French, right? I believe the government should step in and actually offer standard contracts that companies know has been approved
This
by the
is
government. They know
very
what's
French
in
of
there.
you. We will never do it.
Well, listen, an NDA. Why is every one company having their single NDA? It makes no
Yes,
sense, right? An
yes.
NDA should be an NDA. We should just sign the same thing, and that's what the Y Combinator with the SAFE agreement did, and was very efficient. And you think about it, Europe has already done this with GDPR. I'm pretty sure every single company in the US is very happy that the government or
No,
the EU
GDPR
Commission
is, I
preferred.
may disagree with you. GDPR is annoying and horrible and not do,
It is annoying,
and
but what
it
they did is
doesn't do
they did
anything.
give you an agreement that you can sign without thinking about it,
Yeah.
which is better. Otherwise, everyone would have to build that, right?
Yeah.
I think
No, I think that
I
is
think
nice
there's
for
going most organizations.
standardization. So, with your team and being French and coming to Austin, did you make any pit stops along the way, like Bay Area, New York, any other American places, or straight to Texas?
Absolutely. We actually moved initially to San Francisco, to California. So I was there for 7 years, and then I moved to Texas with the company 3 years ago now.
And do
So
you
yeah, we went
have a
through the
bunch of
classic route of
Americans, or is it
SF.
like two French guys and a French team in Paris or something? And I would like to
So in the US,
say
it's
the French, I would say, have the best startup culture outside the US, besides maybe Israel and Tel Aviv. Like for some reason, you guys are good at stuff. Maybe because you like quality, you know.
I would agree. I think you're right. I think the US and Israel probably up there. I think France is very good when it comes to product. We have amazing engineers. We are indeed very focused on the product, the technology, the quality.
Is that a
I
result
think
of the
where we sometimes
school or industry? Like, why are the engineers so good there?
I think we just have indeed like a very good education system that put a lot of accent on math and things like this. And so engineering schools in France tend to be some of the best in Europe and in the world. And so I think it's just part of the culture of the country. Yeah.
Yeah, we
But I
found
think
like
where
Eastern
France
Europeans have been
sometimes,
strong too. Sorry, continue.
yeah. But I think France is probably a bit behind when it comes to the actual business. So we tend sometimes to want to focus too much on the product and forget that there is also things like sales and marketing. So I think that's where France can be a bit different. But coming from France and moving to the US, you get best of both worlds, right?
And so, did you guys decide to come here for fundraising, for market opportunity, or all of the above?
Yeah, for both basically. My co-founder and I, with that previous company we had in France, we quickly realized that France is too small of a market. It's also slightly behind in terms of adoption of technology. And so when we moved to the US, we basically realized that we were able to sell to a company in the US for 3 times the price that we would sell in France and 3 times faster.
I compare it
And
to
so
buying chocolate in Switzerland at the airport. Like everything in California is the most, like people will pay the most anywhere in the world. Like most of our customers are California, New York, Texas. Like it's totally like I can't sell to Europeans because it's too low. Like the prices are too low.
yeah, it's a different way of buying for sure.
Have
But I
you?
think that was the big reason. The
So,
other reason was funding. It was impossible to find funding in France, and we did in the US very easily.
do you think that's a result of how the EU is structured? And second part of that question is, have you been following like the Accelerate EU with Andreas and Levels and how they're trying to create like a Delaware type C Corp structure for the EU?
Yeah, I mean, it's been them, it's been other people for the past 10 years.
Yeah.
President Macron of France did the French Tech Initiative.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of
So it's
things,
not
right?
happening.
There's been serious improvements. Seriously, it's way easier now than it was 10 years ago. But is it at the level that to be able to compete with the US? No, I don't think so. But I think it's a lot of things, right? I think it's a question of culture. It's a question of
Mm.
yes, there you are, Perrier. It's a question of relationship with risk. It's a question of infrastructure. There's a lot of things that need to be changed.
I think the
But
language is
I think
also difficult. Like you say, France is too small, whereas like I might say Texas is too small, but the other 49 states all speak English and have similar legal structures.
yeah, absolutely. And I think that's typically why, like more standardization in Europe is probably a good thing to help companies just address a bigger market. It's already honestly in a pretty good place, but it can be pushed further. I think at the end of the day, part of the biggest problem that I would see is just a question of market. If in Europe, companies tend to be a bit more skeptical of technology and adopt things 2 or 3 years after the US, 2 or 3 years is a long time for a startup, right? So I think it's mostly the problem, more than funding in the end or things like this.
Like you want to be on the leading edge in the US. Yeah, I feel like California, similar to how Hollywood exports are like culture, Silicon Valley exports like the speed of innovation. And so the center is in San Francisco. Even in Austin, I feel it's a bit slower, but I think there's benefits to being outside but connected to the Bay. Were you guys hiring most of your engineers and team members? Are you remote in Austin?
So in Austin, we're 100% in the office.
Oh, wow. Cool.
I do not believe in remote work, at least for us.
As someone who has worked remote, I agree with you, to be honest. Yeah.
I think as a startup, it's very hard to collaborate as fast as you can in an office. Yeah. It's part of the culture, also. It's a small team. You want to be close to the people you work with. Yeah, so we're only in office in Austin, and in France, we are mostly in office in Paris, and we have a few people that are remote.
And how many people do you guys
all
have?
The engineers are in France. We're about 50 people right now.
Nice.
2/3 is basically product engineering, mostly in France, and then business, marketing, sales is here in Austin.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. That's cool. That's a fun size, 50 to 100 before it gets too big.
What's interesting, we pre-COVID, as we were raising a lot of money, accelerate fast, we were about 100 people at Concord back in 2020 before we had to do some cuts after COVID. We were hit pretty heavily. What's interesting is, today with 50 people, I can probably do more work than what I was able to do when we were 100 people.
With AI, and or just because you're more efficient?
Both.
Yeah.
We're more focused. We know more what we do. I think problem in the past is we're trying to go after a bit everything. So now we're a bit more organized when it comes to this. But AI has unlocked so many things. If we are able to launch full-on marketing initiative in a week where we would have taken maybe like a month before that, it's absolutely mind-blowing. I think we're pretty advanced on the way we use AI at Concord. But still, I think when people are going to start adopting AI more, spin's going to change for everyone. It's very, very interesting.
Do you think it's going to be like introducing Excel and Photoshop and Figma, where now it's a tool that amplifies existing like workforce, or do you think it's replacing? I've kind of asked this question to everybody, and pessimist, optimist, it depends.
I think it's more than just introducing a new tool to go faster.
Yeah,
I think it's literally changing the way people work.
Yeah, it's too much. It's too smart. Yeah.
And I think, it's interesting because I think Samad Man from OpenAI just made a comment recently about the difference how people that are below 35 years old and above 35 years old use AI. People that are over 35 use AI. Indeed, like it's going to help me with Excel. It's going to help me do a little bit more of what I already do. Whereas if you look at younger people, they tend to really use ChatGPT and their system as a full replacement of what I'm a life coach.
I'm 37 and I'm right on that edge. And I realized I said something yesterday, and I said, "Oh, you should Google ChatGPT it." And now it's changed, and that's, and then I heard myself and I was like, wow, that's crazy. I know you have a hard stop, and I feel like we could talk and talk and talk and talk. So perhaps we can get a coffee sometime in Austin, and terrible bread. Yeah.
There's a few places you can get good bread. I'll show you.
Swedish Hill, Easy Tiger, or make your own.
Easy Tiger is.
I should try that. No, I love a good ham cheese baguette. Premier. I did a road trip through France from Paris down through Lyon and Nice, and every gas station had better sandwiches than you can get anywhere in Austin. So
yeah, absolutely.
I think I tweeted recently, we need Operation Baguette Speed, not Warp Speed. We need to make sandwiches great in America. But yeah, no, I really appreciate you taking the time, and would love to catch up more. This is fun. And so this is Matt with Concord in Austin, Texas, both of us. Thank you so much, Matt, for being here.